I thought it would be fun this week to talk about your responsibility as a Scrum Master to change the success of Agile in your organization. There's so much to read. You go grab any report, any survey, any statistics. You can Google this right now on what's the trends or what are the outcomes that we're getting in the industry on Agile, and you'll see the same kinds of reports over and over. Agile adoption is up, but failure rates remain high. Why is this? The answers are always the same. The answers are lack of management support, resistance to change at the cultural level, at the organizational level, and probably most telling is the fact that people don't seem to really understand what Agile is, what it's meant to do, how to do it right, and how to best support it. And we bemoan those things. We talk about them all the time. Oh, management support isn't there, executive support isn't there, and then organizational adoption isn't there. How can this be? What are the root causes of those things? You have to remember that Agile is something we care about a lot, but it's not necessarily something that executives or even managers spend a lot of their time thinking about. They're focused on their outcomes. They're focused on their particular projects, their goals, their duties, and the people under their charge. Here's the truth. If you want Agile to work in your organization, it's going to be up to you to help people understand it, to help people understand how to properly change or shift into new ways of thinking, and let's face it, new ways of doing. And also, you're going to have to get the executive/management layer to understand what they're expected to do in order to support it. A lot of times we talk about this stuff, and I hear the conversations frequently that it's the manager's, the executive's fault. No, it's not. I want you and I, to take accountability for the organizational understanding and enthusiasm behind Agile. This really is the job. What do we do instead? We're making a big mistake here. We're focusing on technique. We're going back to the well and saying, what can I learn? What can I do? What can I try? What can I experiment with that will help Agile stick better, that will help more people want to do it, that will help more people want to contribute and want to support? That's not enough. It just won't work. That won't help. If there was one thing that we could all do that would work, we'd have found it by now. I think a lot of us realize that every team is different. So first thing off the cuff is that we're all going to have to experiment and figure this out together every time we start in a new organization or even a new team. There is no magic bullet. We know this, and yet as Scrum Masters, practitioners, Agile coaches, how many times do we go out to the communities and ask for the magic bullet? What do I say? What do I do? How do I get? How do I convince? The reality is you are going to have to be the one that sells the idea of supporting Agile. You're going to have to be the one that sells the new ways of working, the new ways of thinking. To who? To the executives who support it and to the people who we say resist it. If an organization resists Agile change, it's because we failed to do something. Point blank, I really believe that. That's my experience. Either we failed to educate people on what it is, what it means, where it works, where it doesn't, and most importantly, what's required to do it well. Or we failed to educate the executive about how they need to contribute or change. What do they have to invest? What do they have to plan for? What do they have to help us communicate and distribute through the organization to make this sticky? And then finally, we have to help with the change management. We have to help understand that, first of all, Agile doesn't go everywhere. Trying to scale it for the sake of scaling it is a mistake. We need to find ways where Agile can be deployed, find teams, find products, find initiatives where Agile will create meaningful success and meaningful change, and help the organization target those areas and let them adopt Agile first as testers, first adopters, and most importantly, as advocates, as champions for it in the rest of the organization, as exemplars. So what's the most important skill you need as a Scrum Master or coach? It's the ability to sell your ideas, to persuade, to convince, to market, to broadcast. So if you're not comfortable with those kinds of roles, and let's face it, most of us who came up in Agile, this is where I started. I was in a development team room And someone came down to the boiler basement and pulled one of us out and said, who here knows about Agile? We read that it's going to make things faster. It's going to make things less expensive. It's going to make for better quality, etc., etc. And we want some. But they didn't know how to do it. They didn't know why it worked, if it worked. They didn't know if there was any criteria or thresholds for adoption. They just knew they wanted something. And the guy sitting there in the corner with his face down in the computer was going to be the one to bring it to the organization. It's not that simple. You're going to have to put your boardroom clothes on and go make a presentation and help people understand. This is not just something you do. It's not a button you push. This is something that we have to do together, and it represents change. We're going to have to let go of a lot of stuff. We're going to have to liberate ourselves from the way we've always done things. We're going to have to let go of certainty. We're going to have to learn to love failure. All of those things are foreign, especially to the places where Agile lives today. Large-scale organizations, financial institutions, insurance company, government, big education, big retail, all of those places are companies of size. So they're going to be the first ones to struggle with massive change at scale. It's up to us to help them. We're the only ones that can help them. They're not going to go take a course. They're not going to go read the same books that we read. We need to help them do. And that means we need to be the first ones to say, let me coach you. Let me do a half hour with you. Bring all your executives together, and I'll run you through what Agile is really quickly, how it works, and what's required of you as a leader to make sure that it delivers on the promised benefits. Now we're making change. But it all begins with your courage, your belief in your ability to influence and persuade, your belief that what we're doing is right and proper and beneficial. And most importantly, if you don't have that skill today, to start building it today. Something to think about. If you have any questions, what about you? How does this affect your practice? Have you been in a position where you've had to influence or change minds and hearts and you've struggled? Would you like to have more information on how to do this kind of influence and persuasion? If so, reach out. I'd love to hear your stories. Leave it in the comments below. And hey, don't forget to subscribe, to comment, to like. All this stuff really helps spread the word. Thanks for spending time with Badass Agile. Hey, I look forward to the next one.